größere Truppe. Und jetzt will ich jeden einzelnen von euch hören. Hier ist die deutsche Fußballnationalmannschaft. Liebe Fußballfans hier in Herzogenaurach, ich habe ja vorhin versprochen, so, wir positionieren uns hier mal gescheit, dass wir, bevor es losgeht mit dem Training, auch noch eine Ehrung machen wollen, beziehungsweise zwei. Und ich begrüße ganz herzlich Sebastian Kress und Josef Wille vom Fanclub Nationalmannschaft, zuständige Betreuer für die Bereiche Nordbayern und Südbayern. Habe ich das richtig zusammengefasst?
Hast du richtig zusammengefasst.
Und was macht man als Fanclub-Betreuer?
Oh, verschiedenste Tätigkeiten. Ja, natürlich hauptsächlich Ansprechpartner sein für Fanclub-Mitglieder. Wir organisieren Reisen, Heimspiele, Auswärtsspiele. Sind jetzt unter anderem mit 2 Bussen unterwegs bei der Nations League.
Ja. Also ordentlich unterwegs, Josef, oder?
Ja, also wir sind einfach für die kleinen Sorgen und Nöte von den Fans zuständig, probieren Lösungen zu finden und einfach die Fans unterstützen auch mit Fahrten. Ja.
Und wie lange macht ihr das schon?
Und ich bin ganz frisch dabei.
Und dann direkt ein Highlight hier, ne?
Absolut. Er ist schon länger dabei, ein paar Jahre jetzt dann, oder?
Geht jetzt ins 11. Jahr. Also lerne ihn gerade an sozusagen und bekommen wir auf jeden Fall zusammen hin.
Das heißt, ihr habt ja schon auch jeweils die Trophäen in Anführungszeichen in der Hand, um die es jetzt gleich gehen wird. Wir haben natürlich auch logischerweise ein Auge auf die Spieler, weil die brauchen wir dann auch dafür, wenn es dann gleich losgeht. Weiß jeder, was er zu übergeben hat, ja?
So, a very warm welcome to everyone joining us here on the German Football Channel on YouTube as we bring you live coverage from Team Germany's open training, a day for the fans here in Herzogenaurach, the home ground, the Adidas home ground, where the German national side are preparing for the Final Four of the Nations League. A very warm welcome to everyone in the chat as well. Feel free to get involved and have your say in the build-up to that big game on Wednesday against Portugal. The first of the semi-finals to be played in the Allianz Arena here in Germany as well. Should be an absolutely cracking game, something to really look forward to. Germany with a chance to secure some silverware before they then head on into the qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup in Canada, the United States and Mexico. A really mouth-watering World Cup, one that Julian Nagelsmann and his team will be very eager to be a part of, as will everyone else around the world, I'm sure. But well, a World Cup isn't really a World Cup without the big teams, and Germany definitely one of those, especially when you consider their rich history in international competitions, one of Europe's best, and some absolutely world-class players at their disposal again for that upcoming World Cup. But first off, the Nations League to look forward to, the semi-finals, and then a potential final or game for third place. Germany taking on Portugal. The other semi-final being played between Spain and France. So some big teams looking to secure the 2025 Nations League title. Well, Julian Nagelsmann with one or two big names in the squad, but a few big names not joining the team for the Nations League Final Four, the likes of Jamal Musiala, Kai Havertz, Antonio Rudiger and Tim Kleindienst, as well as Angelo Stiller, were not making the trip here to prepare for the Nations League Final Four with the team. Musiala recently been struggling with muscle pain. FC Bayern Munich requesting he stay at home. Also the Club World Cup just around the corner there as well. Kai Havertz also more of a precautionary measure, still recovering from a lengthy injury spell away from Premier League action with Arsenal, only really getting a few minutes under his belt at the end of the season, so still very much in recovery mode. Antonio Rudiger and Tim Kleindienst suffering from knee injuries that both required surgery. Nico Schlotterbeck, another name, who's been out for a while and will be out for a while after that horrible injury with Borussia Dortmund. And of course we wish all of those not here with the team a speedy recovery. I'm sure one or two of those names will certainly be playing a part in World Cup qualification, that is for sure. So once again, a very warm welcome. I can see we've got people joining us from India, Bangladesh, all over the world. Joining us here for this stream. Feel free to get involved. What starting 11 would you like to see for that game against Portugal? Perhaps to help you out with your choice in that starting 11. Let me take you through the squad that is available to Julian Nagelsmann, the squad he has selected for these Nations League games. The three goalkeepers, Oliver Baumann, the Hoffenheim shot stopper, Alexander Nübel from VfB Stuttgart, and Marc-Andre ter Stegen. In the press conference before today's open training, Julian Nagelsmann, not for the first time, making it quite clear that Marc-Andre ter Stegen is and will be his number one. The Barcelona keeper currently with, well, a bit of an up and down season due to injuries himself. Is the most capped goalkeeper amongst the three with 42 appearances for the national team already. A big favourite amongst Germany fans, and rightfully so, really is a world-class goalkeeper. Whether or not he'll be at Barcelona next season, there are question marks there. But I'm sure there will be, or would be, plenty of takers should he decide to move elsewhere, or if Barcelona decide to go for someone else in between the sticks next season. Then on to the defenders, or the more defensive players. Robert Andrich, the Leverkusen more defensive midfielder, shall we say. Waldemar Anton from Borussia Dortmund. Aurel Bissek, the only player that has not travelled here to be with the team. He, of course, has, well, business still to be concluded. He's in the Champions League final tomorrow night with Inter Milan, and will join up after that game, of course, perhaps given a day or two to either rest or maybe even celebrate. Who do you guys think will win that Champions League final tomorrow night? Feel free to get involved there as well. Joshua Kimmich, the most experienced player in this group at the moment. If he starts against Portugal, will play his 100th game for the German national team. Does have 8 goals under his belt as well. Robin Koch from Eintracht Frankfurt, as well as Maximilian Mittelstädt from Stuttgart, Leipzig's David Raum, and Leverkusen's Jonathan Tah, who looks like he's on his way to Bayern Munich. So plenty of reliable defenders and defensive midfielders to pick from for Julian Nagelsmann. Then into midfield, some interesting names here as well. Karim Adeyemi, Nadim Amiri from Mainz, and then Tom Bischoff getting his first call-up yet to make an appearance for the senior side. Has played at under 21 and below that, but gets his first call-up. The Hoffenheim player, really good season, just over 30 appearances in the Bundesliga, total of 8 appearances in the Europa League as well, so a busy season for him. An impressive one in terms of performance, impressive enough to get that call-up into the German national team. Serge Gnabry and Leon Goretzka from Bayern Munich, also in amongst it. Robin Gosens, Pascal Gross and Felix Nmecha from Dortmund making the cuts. Alexander Pavlovic, also from Bayern Munich, as well as Leroy Sané. And then, of course, Germany's golden boy, Florian Wirtz. Where will he be next season? That is the question on everyone's lips, not just in Germany, but around Europe. All the big guns trying to get him to put pen to paper. Will it be Real Madrid, Liverpool, Man City? All the big names have been in the mix. Does look like it's leaning towards one of those three, but nothing clear or concrete just yet. Then who do we have in the attacking department? Well, no Kai Havertz and no Musiala available. So some interesting ones here as well. Jonathan Burkhardt got the call-up, a late call-up, with Angelo Stiller out injured. So he with an opportunity to make just his 4th appearance at senior level for Germany. Then Niklas Füllkrug, the most experienced in the striking department, currently with West Ham. Whether or not he'll be there, we'll have to wait and see next season as well. Dennis Undav from Stuttgart, and then Nick Woltemade, also from Stuttgart. That duo joining up with Germany as DFB Pokal winners after that 4-2 victory in the final. Nick Woltemade still waiting to make his first appearance for Germany, and could be brought into the mix against Portugal. Really has had a fantastic season with Stuttgart, especially the second half, back end of the season. Was on the score sheet in that final as well. So a very exciting young striker rising through the ranks. Nick Woltemade, a somewhat surprising striker when you look at his frame and his physical presence. Surprising to see just how good he is on the ball, with the ball at his feet as well. Not really a classic number 9, very much a modern day striker, but then does have that height and physical presence on top of that as an added bonus. So you can see why he's been called up, and not just because of what he can do, but with the way he's been performing at the back end of the season this year. So after going through that, let's just see if we can take a quick look at some of the comments here. shout-outs for Nuber. Plenty of shout-outs for Florian Wirtz. SSL Clips excited to view Füllkrug, Wirtz and Woltemade excel together. Yeah, definitely. Could be a nice mix between the experience of the veteran Füllkrug and with Woltemade. Can you see a starting 11 where both Füllkrug and Woltemade play at the same time? As a front two, or Woltemade with that good skill on the ball and great movement off the ball as well, perhaps sort of in behind Füllkrug as a number 10 role almost. Is he creative enough for that? If so, what then happens to Florian Wirtz? A lot of comments about Wirtz here. Is the talking point for a lot of football fans around Europe. Some wishes from Bangladesh. Really is great to see just how many people tune in from around the world when we do these live open training sessions. Hello, sir, to Nathaniel. Ethan Lee, are you from England? My family is, but I've grown up in the German-speaking world around German football. So, fan of both, shall we say. But always great to see what the DFB does for fans. This open training session, total of 4,000 tickets, not sold. They were given away for free and were snapped up within just a few minutes of becoming available, which just goes to show how popular the national team is. And really great facilities here. The Adidas home ground has for a while now been the home of preparation for big international games, or at least one of them, that's for sure. As we see some of the players doing a bit of limbering up and stretching. Some keepy uppies from the rest. And the goalkeepers limbering up as well here. With it being an open training session, I'm sure Julian Nagelsmann will not be giving too much away in terms of tactics. So probably just some light exercises, perhaps a few passing, shooting drills, and then probably a little game as well for the fans here. Maybe a couple of 5-on-5s, 10-on-10s, something like that is what we have to look forward to. Another reminder, that semi-final against Portugal will be on Wednesday, and the final or game for third place on the Sunday. So a game for third place early afternoon and the final in the evening. So Jonas Pols asking where they are training at. They are in Herzogenaurach, which is also known as the Adidas home ground. And this in particular, the Adidasler Stadium on the Adidas campus. Feel free to Google it. Lovely part of Germany. Really, really fantastic facilities, and always praised very highly by the players and staff. So a place they love to come to. Plenty of you in the chats. More than happy to see Woltemade start up front. I think on a personal level, I'd probably have to agree. I think his recent performances and consistency with Stuttgart probably earn a start. Then again, when you have a player like Niklas Füllkrug, who is just extremely experienced, especially when it comes to big games, maybe do you try and go for that first and then bring a Woltemade on to either help secure a win or perhaps turn the tide in a game? They are playing against a very, very talented Portugal side, especially on an individual level. Portugal just never fails to keep producing world-class players in almost every position. I'd say probably the striker department, their only weak point. taking out one of the greatest to ever do it, Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, who didn't start as a striker, let's remember, started as a winger, and developed his game to become a striker. But definitely the only area where they seem to just fall a little short, but then they back it up with absolutely world-class players in and around midfield, out on the wings, central defence, full-backs, also absolutely breathtaking, and just amazing to see how they just keep managing to produce individuals at that level. For me personally, though, I think Germany as a team, as a unit, stand a really good chance. I think on paper the big names will belong to Portugal. That's not taking anything away from Germany, just big names there as well, but a lot of their biggest names will not be there, and so then I think you have to rely on a togetherness and a unified performance in terms of tactics, everyone on the same page, everyone swimming in the right direction, if you like, and I think more than capable of giving Portugal a really good run for their money. And I see Germany personally coming out on top and moving on to the finals, even without star players like Musiala. You still have a player like Florian Wirtz, who on his own can really influence a game. Chances for Amiri to start. I don't see him in the starting 11. I definitely see him coming on as one of those perhaps 60th minute substitutes. Another player who's had a really good season. Voltemada is Messi too. Jonas, well, I think he's still got a while to go to become a second Messi. I think you could say that about most professional players, though. Whether or not he'll get there, we'll have to wait and see. Anything is possible. He is still very young and still has a great career ahead of him. Getting onto the same level of Messi, well, if I was a betting man, I'd say no, but that's simply because I don't see any players getting to the level of Messi or Ronaldo anytime soon. What a blessing it was to have both of them playing at the same time. One player who I do think has an incredible future in the game is Florian Wirtz. I think it's been a while since Germany's produced, without forgetting Musiala, who's another exciting player, if you ask me, but Wirtz just has that world star potential in the way he plays, the way he prepares himself for games, the way he performs in big games. Was a big part of Leverkusen's historic season, and I think a lot of fans in Germany would like to see him stay in Germany. I think Bayern Munich probably the only other destination for him if he wants to progress and move forward and up the ranks on a career level, shall we say. Whether or not Leverkusen would like to see him go to a rival, I'm not so sure. All depends on how much Bayern Munich are willing to pay, can pay. Personally, I see him leaving Germany for a number of those reasons, but that shouldn't stop his development with the national team by any means. I think he's got a really bright future with Germany, and with the 2026 World Cup coming up, I think he could be a big player there as well, a star player at that tournament. People tuning in from Canada as well, and the Philippines. Very warm welcome to everyone joining the chat and our live stream here. Jonas with another question: who has a better chance of starting if healthy, Stiller or Pavlovic? Well, as already mentioned, Stiller not joining up with the team. He is out injured, so but if both were fit, I'd have to say that's a close one, really. It's a very good question. Both very similar in terms of where they are with their career. I'd say Pavlovic just slightly behind Stiller for me. I think Stiller has really proven himself after leaving Bayern Munich, taking that risk and trying to progress his career elsewhere. Has had a really good season. Really disappointing for him to pick up that injury and not be available for the Nations League here in the coming days. But another player who I think has become very consistent, very reliable, and someone who has a long career with the German national team. and a player that Julian Nagelsmann has gone on numerous times to say he is a big fan of, and understandably so. Feel free to put your predictions in. How do you think Germany is going to do against Portugal? Who would you like to see in central defence? Who would your partners in crime be in that central defence? Who do you want to be controlling midfield? Who would you like up front? Send your starting 11 suggestions and your predictions for that scoreline against Portugal. That game on Wednesday for the Nations League semi-final. Zenos, who do you think Dortmund would sign, as you are a yellow-black fan? Well, it's a good question. Very good question. Nothing to do with the German national team, so I'll keep it short. But I wouldn't mind to see another Bellingham there, perhaps. See what the younger brother can do. I mean, that would be a good signing and one for the future. Predictions coming in, and all very, very positive. Germany 3-0, says Gomu TV. Warrior with a 3-0 prediction as well. 4-1, SSL Clips. Ujul with a 3-0, Feather with a 3-0. So everyone very, very confident Germany can get the job done. And, well, we appreciate that confidence and that belief in the team as well. I think if I had to predict, I think it's going to be a little bit closer than 3-0. I think you do have to give Portugal some credit. They are a very, very capable team. But I agree that I think Germany, just all round, as a package, a little bit stronger and have enough to get the job done and move on to the finals, where they will face either Spain or France. What a cracking game that could be. They will face one of them anyway in a place for, or in a game for third place if they don't manage to beat Portugal. Fingers crossed they do. Fingers crossed we get to see them in a final on Sunday to cap off a nice week of international football. Plenty of you think Florian Wirtz will get his name on the score sheets. I'd have to agree. He's probably a contender too. But I also think it's a great opportunity. We see Niklas Füllkrug there, who will, in my opinion, probably be the starting striker, simply based on experience alone. Hasn't had the most prolific season in the Premier League with West Ham. It's been a little bit hit or miss, has suffered one or two injury setbacks during his time in England as well. But I think what he did when he was at Borussia Dortmund before he made the move, I think a lot of eyebrows were raised when it came to him joining Dortmund. Was he already past his best? I think were some of the questions being asked. I think he proved all the doubters wrong while he was there. He's not always everyone's cup of tea in terms of his play style. I'd say he's probably one of the last of a dying breed in terms of an old school striker. But he gets you goals, and goals win games. So I think just having him there, even if he weren't to start, I think for the strikers that are there with him, he's a great person to have around on the training ground, in the dressing room, just to learn from, pick his brain, and help become a better player. And he can help the youngsters become better players as well. Will Tom Bischoff get some minutes? Well, it's a good question. I think it's one of those who will really take a lot just from being with the national team. I think that's the first step. Even if you don't get any minutes, I think just being called up is that first big step. When you're a young player, I think he's had an incredible season. Bischoff has been very, very impressive indeed. And then I think it also depends on how the game goes against Portugal. I do think he's definitely in the running for perhaps getting some minutes. However, if the game is, let's say, 60 minutes in, 65 minutes in, still 1-1, still 0-0, I think other players will probably get the nod ahead of him to try and come on, make a difference, try and change the dynamics and shift momentum in the game, if you like. But if Germany find themselves, as many of you have predicted, 3-0 up, then I don't see why not. I don't see why he wouldn't be given an opportunity to go out and then help cement that victory. So I think it depends on how the game unfolds and the flow of the game, and where Germany find themselves, what sort of a battle they find themselves in, or how much of a battle, shall we say. Ritz with a question about the goalkeeping departments, which is always surprises me how much discussion there is in Germany when it comes to Germany's number one. Of course, when you had Manuel Neuer and Marc-Andre ter Stegen, you'd hate to be a manager there. I mean, Neuer, it's hard to not have had him as number one, but then you always felt for Marc-Andre ter Stegen, of course, who in his own right, absolutely world-class goalkeeper. Now is his time, though, and I don't see anyone taking his place anytime soon, if you ask me. I think Julian Nagelsmann, in a number of press conferences now, has even mentioned that he is getting a bit tired of having to repeat himself. Marc-Andre ter Stegen, his clear number one. So, don't see anyone getting past him in terms of starting. I'd be surprised if he didn't start both games here during the Nations League Final Four. But Oliver Baumann and Alexander Nübel, two great goalkeepers in their own right as well. So must be tough just breaking into the national team as a goalkeeper, professional goalkeeper in German football, because the competition is always just so tough. For those of you who have just joined us, I'll just do a quick run through of the squad selected for the Nations League here. So Oliver Baumann, Alexander Nübel and Marc-Andre ter Stegen, the three goalkeepers. Robert Andrich, Waldemar Anton, Jan Orel Bissek, the one player who hasn't joined up. He's in the Champions League final tomorrow with Inter Milan. Will join up after that. Joshua Kimmich, Robin Koch, Maximilian Mittelstädt, David Raum and Jonathan Tah. Those the defenders, or defensive midfielders as well, if you like. Robert Andrich falling into that category especially. In the midfield, Karim Adeyemi, Nadia Mamiri, Tom Bischoff, Serge Gnabry, Leon Goretzka, Robin Gosens, Pascal Gross, Felix Nmecha, Alexander Pavlovic, Leroy Sané, Florian Wirtz. And then the four strikers, Jonathan Burkhardt with a late call-up, Niklas Füllkrug, Dennis Undav, and the future Messi, according to some of you, Nick Woltemade. Of course, there will be some changes to that when it comes to the World Cup qualifiers. As already mentioned, some players not here with the team, some very big players. The likes of Jamal Musiala, Kai Havertz, Antonio Rudiger and Tim Kleindienst, who I think will all be part of that World Cup qualifying, unless, God forbid, injury keeps them out. Musiala struggling with a slight muscle problem and also has the Club World Cup coming up, so that's why he's not here. So don't worry, he is definitely part of Julian Nagelsmann's plans, just not here at the Nations League. Kai Havertz also recovering from a long injury spell away. Antonio Rudiger and Tim Kleindienst both with knee problems, but both big players for Germany and the upcoming World Cup qualifiers for that 2026 World Cup in the United States, Canada and Mexico. just another reminder, the players here in Herzogenaurach, the Adidas campus, and this the Adidasler Stadium. 4,000 fans allowed to join for free. Those tickets snapped up within minutes. A lot of people disappointed not to get one, understandably so. If we look forward to the World Cup qualification, Germany in Group A with Slovakia, Northern Ireland and Luxembourg. The top team in the group, qualifying straight through to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Second place will advance to the playoffs, so still in with a chance. I'd be surprised if Germany didn't finish top of that group. Clear favourites. I think Slovakia probably their toughest game on paper, shall we say. Northern Ireland and Luxembourg should be 3 points in the bag, but it's always easier said than done. And sometimes when you are the team expected to dominate and expected to win, it can make it that little bit more difficult, but it's a position that Germany usually finds themselves in, and therefore has a lot of experience when it comes to getting the job done against lesser teams, if you like. When I say lesser, I don't mean any disrespect, of course, but simply lesser in terms of ability, level of player available, etc. and so on. So Germany in that Group A with Slovakia, Northern Ireland and Luxembourg. Those games played throughout September, October and November. So something to look forward to next season. Karim Adeyemi just stretching it out there with some of his teammates. Karim Adeyemi, another one of those players who's had somewhat of an up and down season with Dortmund, but then you could say the same for Dortmund as a club. Fantastic second half to the season, though. You can't take that away from them. For a long time they looked like they would be struggling to secure any sort of European football. They have managed to pull it off and qualify for Europe's elite club competition. SSL clips, much appreciated. Always nice to have you here. New kid, Floviets, the Wonder Kid. Well, I'd love to hear what you guys think. I can tell there's a lot of Florian Wirtz fans out there, but does he have the potential to become one of Germany's best ever players? Do you see him, you know, is he better than Musiala? What sort of heights can he reach? Where is the ceiling with Florian Wirtz? Would you like to see him stay in Germany or go abroad? Does a move abroad help him perhaps become a better player? Or does staying in Germany, is that the way to go? So many questions when it comes to Florian Wirtz. I'm a big fan as well, have to be completely honest. Well, already messages coming in. Some on Musiala's side, some on Florian Wirtz's side. I think Germany have to count themselves very lucky that they've got both of them within their ranks. I think if both of them are fit, playing at their best, and then start to build a relationship in the build-up to that World Cup, well, I think opponents' defences are going to have quite some work to do, because two of the most exciting young players, not just in Germany but in world football. Big fan of Musiala and a big fan of Florian Wirtz. So I think Julian Nagelsmann is a very lucky manager. to have both of them at such a young age as well, where they can still improve. I think that's what's scary about them. So really looking forward to see how their careers unfold and develop. Xenos 256, most underrated was Marco Reus. Marco Reus, yeah, didn't quite have the career I think he wanted, and I think many expected with Germany. Cracking player, really good professional. Just didn't quite work out for him, did it? Did have a lot of competition in similar positions and roles. Yeah, one of those that perhaps got away, you feel. So can understand the comments, definitely. I don't think he was underrated by at club level. I think there was a lot of fans who rated him very, very highly. But I can see where you're getting at. Definitely. Looks like there's a Leroy Sané fan in the chat as well. Leroy Sané, another player that could be heading abroad. Will he stay with Bayern Munich? Will he? There's interest from the Premier League. Apparently, teams like Arsenal interested in perhaps picking him up as a free agent. Such a talented player, Leroy Sané. Great pace, great control. Definitely a player who you'd have to consider can be a game changer. Isn't always the game changer when you expect him to be, or perhaps when you want him to be, but certainly has the ability. Wirtz will win the World Cup for Germany. I think if there's one player in their ranks that can guide them towards one, he's definitely a contender. Although I think it's very rare that one player will win you a competition of that stature, unless you are a Lionel Messi. But even when Argentina did it, it took more than just Messi to get the job done. Yes, he played a big part, but I think if you can get sort of a spine of a team really working well together, and then all performing at a very high level, I think you need your goalkeeper. Even if he's not kept busy throughout the entire tournament, there will come a moment, usually in a very important game like a quarter-final or a semi-final, where you need him to come up with that one big save. I think you need a central defender that puts fear in the opposition. I think you need a creative midfielder that will not only get you goals, but create goals for others. And then I think you need a striker that will rattle the net with a penalty when called upon, but will also run those lines and those channels and keep defenders guessing and stretched. I think that's equally as important. And then I think when you take all of those boxes, and then last but not least, you have that little bit of luck, because in order to win big tournaments, whether it's a Champions League, a World Cup, a European Championship, you need that little bit of luck as well. It's just part of the game, and I think anyone at the top of the game will tell you that as well. That little bit of luck is required to get the job done as well. But I think you can help make that luck with key players doing their job and performing at the very highest level. So I agree. I think Wirtz could definitely influence greatly Germany winning a World Cup. Whether or not they can win the World Cup on his own, I'm not sure the modern game allows that anymore. I don't think the way the game is played, it's less about individuals and more about team performances. So we'll have to wait and see. Great shout though. And I do think this Germany team, with the likes of Wirtz in it, can go a long way, definitely. Absolutely. So some Kimmich fans in the chat as well. Voltemade fans coming through. Voltemade is going to be incredible. I have to agree that yeah, I think Voltemade's got a very bright future. I've been very impressed and a little surprised as well, because I'd be lying if I said I'd followed Voltemade throughout his youth career. I definitely haven't. I have gone on to sort of take a look back at some of the things he's managed to do, but never watched the journey as it happened, shall we say. And at first glance, when you look at him, you think, oh yeah, striker, big, tall, good, probably good at holding up the ball, bringing others into play, probably a threat aerially in the box as well. But then over the second half of the season, I've just kept my eye on him a little more, and what an all-round talent. I think that's what surprised me most about Nick Voltemade. Yes, he can do all the big man up front things, and he can do them well. But I think what makes him really exciting, and is another example of how the game is changing, is that his close control, his passing accuracy, his off-the-ball intelligence, some of the runs he makes, and then his closing down, his defending from the front. Really, really impressive. So I think it's probably a bit too early to say whether or not he's going to become a world-class player, but I think he's ticking a lot of the early boxes, and I think being called up to the first team here and possibly playing a part in big games against the likes of Portugal, France, Spain can only help him improve. And I think what I like about him as well is he seems very humble yet confident, and those are the ones that seem to go far, you know, the ones that just quietly, season on season, improve, and when opportunities come their way, they take them with both hands. So very, very impressed with him. So Kimmich is most important to build from the back or attack through wide areas. Definitely, I think Kimmich, quite clearly the most experienced player, will be very much a leader in this Germany team, and rightfully so. What do you think about BVB's chances at the Club World Cup? Well, we'll have to wait and see. I think it's all up in the air. It's so hard to predict how Borussia Dortmund are going to do, especially based on last season, which probably had a bit of everything. You know, there was despair, then there was elation, then there was surprise, there was everything you could ask for. So I think it's a complete roll of the dice, if I'm being completely honest. Zinos, Felix Nmecha is very underrated. Yeah, another player who I don't think has the best of seasons. He had his moments, certainly. I think what Nmecha has lacked is consistency, and I think that's probably also because of the amount of rotation at Borussia Dortmund was rather extreme this season. Sometimes because of injuries, sometimes because of performances. And I think that can hurt some players. I think Nmecha definitely suffered in that regard, because the best performances or runs of performances from Nmecha was when he had extended periods in the side, in the starting 11. I think he's very much a rhythm player. I think all players are. I think you have world-class players that can probably come in and on any day play at the very highest level, and then I think you have others that the confidence comes through minutes, and when those minutes are inconsistent, I think they can suffer at times. But I think athletically, what he can bring in that midfield role, both offensively and defensively, can cover a lot of ground. He's one of those players that seems to sort of run in slow motion. You don't quite realize how quick he's moving sometimes, or how much ground he covers. So I think he's definitely potentially a cracking choice in central midfield. However, I think it will depend on how consistently he plays and then / performs at club level in the build-up to the World Cup qualifiers. But he wouldn't be called up by that man, Julian Nagelsmann, if he wasn't a class player already. So Lenny Bush with an interesting question at German football. Why do we stream with an English commentator? Well, it's I think German football, the Bundesliga, players like Florian Wirtz have such an international appeal. I think Germany has a rich history in terms of international competition as well, at the very highest level. And as you guys are proving each and every time by taking the time out of your days to come and join us here, join the German national team, even though it is just an open training, and you're all involved in the chat and everything. I think it just goes to show that the German national team and German football does have a worldwide appeal. And I think the DFB and the German Football Association does a great job of trying to, involve fans from not just Germany but from around the world and make them feel part of the entire process, the build up to big competitions. And a fan is a fan. That doesn't mean they have to be from that country, live in that country. There might be Germany fans who have spent a lot of time away from Germany, live in an English-speaking country, but still want to feel part of it, feel represented, feel included. And I think the DFB does a fantastic job of that. And so I think that also is a great time to once again say, just a big thank you to all of you joining us here, making it enjoyable for me as well, because I get to chat to you guys about Germany, hear your comments, have discussions, talk about score predictions, starting lineups, everything that football fans love to do anyway, all while casually getting to watch the German team in action. And it just creates a bit more of a bridge between fan and player, fan and manager, everything and everyone in between. And why should that be limited to just one country? So again, big thank you for joining us, and great to have you here. Hope you're enjoying the live stream, and we hope that you'll get behind the team on Wednesday as well when they take on Portugal. Another question about Marc-Andre ter Stegen. We did mention that Marc-Andre ter Stegen might be moving on from Barcelona. There are rumours about that, definitely. Yeah, would I like to see him back in the Bundesliga? It's a difficult one. I think as a Marc-Andre ter Stegen fan, I think it would just be great to see him somewhere where he can just keep developing. I think he'll be a number one wherever he goes. He's at that point in his career where he's not going to be a backup to anyone, I don't think. I really can't imagine that happening. I don't think he would make a move for those reasons either. Back in the Bundesliga, I think there'd be a lot of takers. I think you never know with wage structures and stuff like that. When all of that comes into play, it can make it difficult for some teams to try and get him to put pen to paper. I think he could go to any league in the world and probably starting goal for the majority of top teams as well. I really think he is a fantastic shot stopper, and at this point in his career, with his experience, the teams he's played for, I think he'd be quite the leader in a team as well. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Now with a question about how long the training is on for. I think it's planned for an hour and a half. That could stretch a little or end a little earlier. We'll have to wait and see. The fact that they're already having small games now, I think would suggest it's heading towards the back end of the session, of this open training session. Might be one or two shooting drills afterwards, quick a jog down or something, and then as is usually the case, the players then take some time to sign some autographs and take some pictures with the 4,000 spectators here as well. So probably about, I'd say maybe another half hour, 40 minutes still to go here. Do apologise if I'm missing some of the comments, trying to keep an eye on what's going on, bring you guys the latest information, and then try and keep an eye on the comments as well. So if I do go quiet for a moment, it is because I'm trying to take a look at some of the comments that are coming in. Support for Tom Bischoff. Would be great to see him make his international debut. More comments about Musiala and Wirtz. Where will they play? That's another great question. You play Wirtz, who for me, I think, probably best when he's given a little bit of freedom. So sort of like a number 10 role, play sort of in behind a striker, but can drift out left and right to try and link up with wingers. Musiala, I think, has the capability to play anywhere across a front three. Do like it when he comes in from the left. I think he's really, really exciting in that role, but can also play that number 10 role as well. And I think the fact that both of them can play so many positions, although I'd say Wirtz perhaps out on the right, not really his cup of tea, with the chance that you can use them both, not just starting from different positions, but then in the game and throughout the game, perhaps swap roles, keep defenders guessing. I think that's really exciting for Nagelsmann and company, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that come into fruition in games as well. Sadly, we won't be able to see them in combination during the Nations League here, with Musiala out injured, not here with the squad. Will be part of the World Cup qualification, so where Florian Wirtz will start, pretty sure he will start. We'll have to wait and see, but I think Nagelsmann does enjoy giving him a little bit of freedom. I think that's when you see the best of Florian Wirtz, when he's allowed to play his game sort of within a structure, but given freedom in that structure to try and influence the game from different areas of the pitch. And I think he's at his best when he sort of picks it up sort of 10 meters into the half, and then he's got the ability to either lose a defender, take a defender on, create space, and then when things open up, that's when Florian Wirtz is at his most dangerous, because he can pick a pass to bring a teammate into play. The weight of that pass you can almost guarantee is going to be spot on, but he can then also just find the smallest of gaps and then pick his spot for a long-range effort, go past the player into the box, win you a penalty, win you a free kick on the edge of the penalty area, or slot it into the top corner. And yeah, I think a little bit of freedom and somewhat of a modern number 10 role is where I'd like to see him start, but that's just me. Feel free to get involved where you'd like to see him start and who you'd like to see him playing with, already showing what he's capable of out here on the training pitch. We've seen a few Florian Wirtz moments already, so I'm sure the fans, not just here in the Adidas Stadium, will be enjoying, but you guys at home as well can already see some of the comments coming in. Would I like to see Marc-Andre ter Stegen at BVB? Yeah, sure, although you have to say Gregor Kobel's probably been one of Dortmund's best players this season. Fantastic shot stopper, but how do you say no to Marc-Andre ter Stegen? And that is if he leaves Barcelona. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not he'll be in La Liga next season. Who knows? Will he be Germany's #1 for the Nations League and World Cup qualification and then the World Cup? Should Germany qualify? I think it's almost guaranteed as long as Nagelsmann is making the decisions. Don't see a way past Marc-Andre ter Stegen in goal. I think he's earned his place as well. Having for so long been Germany's #2 behind Neuer, I think he's earned his time to shine. And very confident that he'll live up to all expectations as well. Illuminated, it's going to be hard to play a big game like a semi-final with big players out injured. Many players will suffer in terms of team chemistry, and we're already weak against a high press. Well, I can see where you're coming from, definitely. Although playing against a high press, I certainly think there's enough talent there to play out from the back. Don't see why it would be a problem for Germany. And I think once you get the ball into midfield, I think it's more about the speed at which they can get it from defence into midfield. So yes, up against that high press, but I think then you need to rely on those players in that midfield, that movement and work rate off the ball, finding those gaps and getting themselves into positions, dragging players out of position, so working together as well, maybe one player making a run, the next following in a different direction, and then creating that space for that quick ball, then the ability to turn and transition really quickly into that front third. I think Germany could definitely excel there. They've got plenty of pace, plenty of ability, players like Florian Wirtz. I think against Portugal, it'll be interesting to see how they deal with players like Florian Wirtz. Do they stick close to him? Do they try and get physical? I think we've seen Portugal try and do both in the past. I think dealing with a player like Florian Wirtz probably will be a physical game for him. I definitely would say Portugal, from a defensive side, like to play physically. So it could be a really, really interesting battle. And I think the midfield is where it'll be decided against Portugal, because they themselves have some fantastic talent in midfield, and should be a cracking little battle in that central third of the pitch. I think that's where the game will be won or lost. One or two questions again about why the English commentary. You can, of course, if you prefer the German commentary, or that's what you're looking for, like Emilio Kempf joining the chat, go over to the DFB channel, currently on the German football channel, which is the English version of the DFB channel. And if you want German commentary, feel free to head on over there and enjoy that. If you want to stick with some English commentary, feel free to stay here. No hard feelings, Emilio, and an understandable question. Have you seen the next big thing at DFB? Noah Davich. Yeah, the youngster at Barcelona. Looks like a real talent. I have seen him. I've been very impressed by him as well. I've had the pleasure of doing some of the under-17 national team games where I've seen him in action. Looks like a real leader in and amongst the youngsters already. Looks like a very exciting player, but you never know at that age. Still very early to tell. I think he's got everything you need to make it all the way to the top. And fingers crossed he can avoid injury and continue on the journey he's on, because yes, sky's the limit for him, if you ask me. A really, really exciting young player. Illuminated, we actually needed Stiller. Is Goretzka available? Yep, Leon Goretzka is available. Angelo Stiller, sadly unavailable due to injury, but definitely a player who normally would be part of Nagelsmann's plans.
Komm Nadim!
So still seeing support for Voltemade in the chat. Double pivot would be Gross and Pavlo. That could be an interesting combination. Pavlovic, another player with a really, really exciting future. Pascal Gross, really experienced. Also brings you, in terms of ball distribution, extremely reliable. It's a player that can take corners, free kicks as well. Has had a decent season, I'd say, with Borussia Dortmund. Still think there's more to come from him. But, you know, called up to the German national team, so certainly done enough to impress Julian Nagelsmann. And I think, again, one of those players, you see it more and more with the modern game. Its versatility seems to be such a key quality in terms of making it to the very top. Players that can fill a number of roles, play a number of positions, understand the game in a number of areas, seem to be the ones that make it to the top of the game. Seem to be favoured by managers, just the way the game has developed and evolved. I think that's the interesting thing about football as well. From generation to generation, the game changes, and with it, the players that play at the top of it have to change as well. So, yeah, I think could be an interesting double pivot. Absolutely. We miss Toni Kroos. Well, you're probably not alone there. What a cracking player he was. One of the best to do it in midfield for Germany and at club level as well. Could Stiller become the next Toni Kroos? That's good question. He's got a way to go, and that's not taking anything away from Angelo Stiller. A really talented young player. And to do what Toni Kroos did is difficult for the most talented of players, I think. Maximilian Bayer, a player that hasn't been called up yet. Decent season for BVB as well, especially second half of it. Was one of those players that had to step up with others out injured and did that really well. You always know with a player like Maximilian Bayer that you're going to get fantastic work rate. He's going to run himself into the ground for you. Still room for improvement in his game, which is for me always a more positive thing. I like to see players that have room for improvement rather than a player who you feel has hit his maximum or hit a ceiling. So I think even if we don't see Bayer who is very highly rated at under 21 level, by the way. I think he's on the verge of breaking in. He was probably really in consideration for making it into this team as well. Had Nick Woltemade not ended the season as well as he had, I think Bayer would probably be in with a shout. But maybe just a year too early, and with the World Cup in 2026, so a year away, I think he's got a whole season to push his way into the squad and into consideration. And if he can just build on last season, I think he's definitely in with a chance. Vanna, the young Vanna, yeah, another good shout. I think it's too early for him, but I'm sure we'll be seeing him doing the business in a year or two. Julian Brandt, Emre Can, two Dortmund players that haven't made the cuts. Yeah. I'd argue that Julian Brandt probably, in terms of his entire career, I think this has been one of his poorer seasons, if I can go that far. Without being disrespectful in any way, cracking player on his day, has had man of the match performances for BVB this season as well. But just hasn't quite been consistent enough for me. I think summing up BVB's season is very similar to Brandt's season. They've almost gone hand in hand. BVB very up and down, very inconsistent. I think Brandt very up and down, very inconsistent. Had games where he's won the game for Dortmund, but then has had games where he's gone a little missing as well. So I think he's another player who's probably on the edge of making the team or not. Could still work his way into the World Cup qualification team. Can't see why not. Emre Can, who had a surprisingly good season in central defence for Borussia Dortmund. You know what you get from him as a leader. You know what you get from him in terms of commitments. And I think he probably surprised a few in the Bundesliga with how well he did at the back. Majority of his career at professional level was a defensive midfielder, sometimes central midfielder, but did very well at the back. And was probably one of Dortmund's more reliable players this season, which might have surprised a few.
Ja, Johnny, ja, Johnny, ja, Johnny! Ja, Dennis, komm, Dennis!
How tall is Nick Woltemade? It's 198, Oksu. Spot on with the answer in chats. Just under 2 meters. Really is exciting striker. Scored in the DFB Pokal final. Stuttgart 4-2 winners in that final. Cracking game against Arminia Bielefeld. What a journey for them. As Serge Gnabry toe pokes the ball home. Is Woltemade good at scoring headers? Well, you'd expect him to be, and he is. He's definitely good in the air. But I think what's most surprising about Nick Woltemade is how good he is with the ball at his feet. I mean, if you look at his numbers this season, I think he's got 12 goals in 28 Bundesliga appearances. He scored 5 in 5 in the DFB Pokal. So that's what? That's 17 in all competitions this season, which is a pretty good return for a young striker who I'd argue probably really came to life properly in the second half of the season. So see him on the ball there and now, just right then, perfect example. He picks up the ball on the edge of the penalty area, great control of his feet, spreads it out wide, and again then stays sort of a little further out, looking for maybe a cutback or anything, rather than bursting forward to try and get a powerful header in, as you expect a big man like him. He moves really well for a player of his size. So I can't wait to see how he develops, because I think the sky's the limit for him as well, especially with the way he's been performing recently. Why is Kevin Schade not in the team? Well, it's an interesting one. Certainly been doing well in the Premier League. Probably another player who's there or thereabouts, like on the cusp of breaking into the team. Of course, there's just so many talented players, and then at the same time, you don't want to constantly be bringing new players into a team when you're building up to a World Cup or any sort of upcoming tournament. There has to be a point somewhere where you draw a line in the sand, because you need to create that team atmosphere, that team unity, that understanding. You know, you want that family feeling within a team as well, heading into a big tournament. And so there's always that big question of when do you sort of settle on the core of your team, and where do you allow perhaps changes to be made. Of course, sometimes you're forced to make changes, but then I think that's when a lot of managers then decide to go back to someone they've already had there before, or might have been on the cusp before, because they already understand the chemistry, the workflow, the mentality that you're trying to deliver to the players. So I think a lot of that comes into play as well. Perhaps why certain players who fans feel should be given that chance maybe don't get that chance. I mean, this is all guesswork, obviously. But I can imagine that certainly has to be part of the process, or the part of the thinking of a manager. And then certain players perhaps just don't fit in with what you're trying to do or trying to create, or must be a really, really difficult job. I think Nagelsmann's done a great job since taking over. I think there was a time with Germany after the Jogi Löw era where there were big question marks. There was sort of this uncertainty. I think when Nagelsmann took over, there was a lot of excitement about the way he wanted his team to play, the philosophy he wanted to implement and cement in the German team, not just the first team level, but he wanted that to sort of trickle down and filter through to the under 21s and the younger teams as well. So I think I think it's a tough job, but I think with Nagelsmann at the helm, I think Germany have got really good chances here at the Nations League Final Four, which gets underway on Wednesday against Portugal, but also for World Cup qualifying, and then the World Cup next summer. So SSL Clips wants to see Füllkrug and Woltemade as a front two. We talked about that early into the stream, didn't we? Like, it'd be interesting to see those two and how they combine. Of course, it is a semi-final, Nations League semi-final, but still a semi-final. Do you experiment in a semi-final? I'm not so sure Julian Nagelsmann will be as experimental. I've just got a feeling he's going to go with Niklas Füllkrug up front as sort of a lone striker, and then have the likes of Wirtz play off him, sort of like a shadow 10 in behind with a bit more freedom. You know, you've got the muscle and the bulldozer in front of Wirtz, and then the creativity in behind him. I think that could work quite nicely, and I think it's also something that Nagelsmann knows he can rely on. I wouldn't be surprised to see Woltemade then when Füllkrug sort of runs out of juice in and around the 65th or something, come on and replace him, and then all of a sudden you've got not only another powerful striker up front, but then a tired or more tired defence, shall we say, has to deal with a Woltemade and a Wirtz, both creative, both tricky on the ball, quick movement, nice little 1-2, stuff like that. I think that could work really, really nicely. And it's always nice to bring on big weapons late into a game as well. So I think that could be interesting, but I think your guess is as good as mine as to who Nagelsmann is going to go with. Some call-outs for Chris Führig. I'd have to agree, cracking player, another cracking season. Another player who's probably very close, if not on the cusp as well. There is Füllkrug. Players, I think, getting ready to just wind down, sign some shirts for the fans and stuff. So the training session is starting to come to a close here. So just another quick reminder of the squad selected: Baumann, Nübel, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, the three goalkeepers. The defensive players: Robert Andrich, Waldemar Anton, Jan-Aurel Bissek, who is in action with Inter Milan tomorrow in the Champions League final. Joshua Kimmich, Robin Koch, Maximilian Mittelstädt, David Raum and Jonathan Tah. The midfielders: Karim Adeyemi, Nadir Mamiri, Tom Bischoff, Serge Gnabry, Leon Goretzka, Robin Gosens, Pascal Gross, Felix Metscher, Alexander Pavlovic, Leroy Sané and Florian Wirtz. And then four strikers that could play a part on a Wednesday: Jonathan Burkhardt, Niklas Füllkrug, Dennis Undav and Nick Woltemade. I know plenty of you want to see Nick Woltemade in action, and I've got a feeling he will get minutes here in the Nations League Final Four.
Jetzt beginnt der spannende Teil für sehr viele von euch. Die Mannschaft hat
so that wraps up the open training session, at least for the action out on the pitch. All that's left now is, or should I say, all that's left to do now for the players is to sign some shirts for the fans and take some pictures with them. All that's left to do for me is to say a very, very big thank you for all the warm and really nice comments in the chat. Thanks for getting involved. Thanks for making my time here even more enjoyable. We hope you've had a good time, and we hope you join us next time. I'd love to see you all in the chat next time we do something like this again.